Good evening to everyone, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. Today promises to be a very successful event. I can see that our guest is here, well seated, waiting to give us what he has in store for us. And our moderator is also here. This is ELTA, English Language Teachers Association of Nigeria. And it's such a pleasure to have all of you join in from all parts of the world. I can already see in the chat room that we have people from different parts of the world joining in. And I hope that as you join, please, you tell us where you're joining in from the chat box. So I would hand over now to Dr. Ruth Oji to carry on from here. Please ensure that you participate because we would really love to hear from you. Please make sure you mute your mics if you're not speaking, and be respectful to everyone as we start. Thank you very much. Ruth, over to you, Dr. Ruth.
Yes, thank you very much, Abel, for that introduction. And hello, everyone. You're welcome to this very important meeting that we have this evening. Our webinar for October has to do with a very important area of focus that every one of us would be interested in. I guess that's why we're all here. So we'd like to listen to Dr. Okon Effiong as he takes us through the topic, Teacher, Know Your Subject. But I would like to tell you a bit about him so that you get to meet him, our presenter. Dr. Okon Effiong's academic background varies with qualifications in applied genetics, management, information technology, accounting, and education. He has a PhD in applied linguistics from the University of Southampton, UK. Okon is an English lecturer in the foundation program, Qatar University. And before Qatar, he taught in Nigeria, United Kingdom, and Japan. He is also an experienced special needs teacher, having taught young adults with autistic spectrum disorders. He does like to describe himself as a full-blooded TESOLer. He served TESOL International Association as the treasurer and chair of Finance Committee, board member, chair of Diversity and Inclusion Committee, chair-elect of EFL-Interest Section, newsletter editor of EFL-IS Newsletter, and member of the Nominating Committee. He is also the founder and past president of Africa ELTA and was the president of Qatar TESOL. He is a regular presenter at internationally recognized conferences. His research interests are in foreign language anxiety, professional development of teachers, and language teachers associations. He has some peer-reviewed publications to his credit and has co-edited Hybrid Learning in ELTA, specifically Cambridge Scholars Publishing of 2023, and the Role of Language Teachers Association in Professional Development of Springer 2018. I'd like you all to help make welcome Dr. Okon Effiong, and I'd like you to, as part of a way to show your appreciation for his being here, pay due attention, follow along, put your questions in the chat box, and rest assured that we're going to deliberate on all of them by the time he's done with his presentation. So please, you can use reaction button to welcome him. You can use a thumbs up, you can use the clap button. And from now on, Dr. Effiong, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ruth. That took about 3 minutes of our time. So you're going to give me back at the end. It's a great pleasure to be here. And I like the description of myself as a full-blooded TESOLer. I'm truly a full-blooded TESOLer. Anything TESOL, I have my heart in that. So today is about a teacher, know your subject. When Ken told me about this topic, it kind of sounded confusing because, like you say, the ruler and the subjects, you know, you have the king and the subjects. So when you say teacher, know your subject, does it know the students or know the subject you are teaching? But I know it's about the subject you are teaching. And my presentation is not going to be a lecture because some of the things I'll be saying are already things you've studied in your TESOL, BA language or education, BA English, BA TESOL classes. So it's just to refresh your memory about those concepts and then how you can apply them in your classroom. So you can see on the screen there, fella, this is 1980, when it said, teacher, don't teach me nonsense. And this is what our students will be telling us today. Don't teach me nonsense. They're in the class to learn. And nobody ever forgets a good teacher. So screen is not. Let's begin with the qualifications. To be a teacher, you need all those things listed on the screen there. Some of us here today have all of these, 3 of these, 2 of these, or 1 of these. So it's not about your paper qualification. However qualified you are on paper, if at the end of the day, your students are not learning, it comes to nothing. Because your paper qualification will not translate into good teaching unless you achieve the students' learning outcomes. And maybe to a lesser degree, the program learning outcomes. But the focus is the students' learning outcomes. If your students are learning, I mean, that means you are doing a good job as a teacher. And how do you do a good job as a teacher? So beyond qualifications, there are other considerations or some limiting factors. You could be very qualified on paper. You may know your subjects. Yes, you know your subjects. But how can you prove that you know your subject? How do people know that you know your subjects? And what are the limiting factors that can inhibit you or prevent you from proving that you know your subject? One is internal politics. Your head of department, your boss, your colleagues, people that are trying to bring you down because they think you are shining too much. So that might affect your ability to prove your worth, to prove that you know what you're doing, to be able to be the teacher that you want to be. Institutional support. What resources are available for you to use to be able to teach effectively and for the learners to learn effectively? Are you getting support to attend professional development opportunities like what we are doing now to make yourself a better teacher? Because all these things will translate into you being a very good teacher and a successful one for that matter. The language education policy of your country or of your state. Because now we're talking to people from diverse countries. It's not just Nigerian teachers. We have people from other African countries, and we also have my colleague here from Qatar, Heshmin. So how much is the government spending on language education? How are they supporting the teaching of language education or support the language teaching of English language in your school, in your region, in your state, in the country generally? I'll give you an example. I put the Naira, yen, and dollars. Japan spends over $1 billion every year on English language education, yet there is no English in the country. It is ranked 87th in the world in terms of English proficiency, ranked 87th. In Africa, South Africa is ranked 9, Kenya is ranked 19, Nigeria 27, Ghana 34. I'm just mentioning the English-speaking countries in Africa. There's ranking there online that you can find. So it boils down to the amount of money the government is willing to spend to support the teaching of English. And then the classroom ambience. We are all teaching in one space or the other. How does this promote learning? How does it stimulate you? Do you wake up in the morning feeling, yep, I want to go to school. I'm happy to go to school. So all these things come together to affect your ability to prove that you're a good teacher and then to show the knowledge that you have. Because you may have all these things in your head, you may have all the theories and the teaching strategies or things you've learned in the college, or you've learned from colleagues or from attending PD sessions. But if the environment is not conducive, if the environment is not enabling, you may not be able to prove that you know your subject. Another thing is your personality. Your personality as a teacher. What aura are you generating in the classroom? I did my doctoral research on foreign language anxiety, and it was proven that learning a language ties in with the anxiety, and the more relaxed you can create your classroom for your learners, the better they will be able to speak. So how do you create a classroom atmosphere that your learners are very comfortable? Dress code is one of them. I wear jeans and t-shirt. Heshmi can testify. I've been in Qatar for 13 years now. Jeans and shirt, not t-shirt, jeans and shirt. So if you're always dressed formally in suit and ties, and you're creating that distance between you and your learners, they just see you're very formal, and they think they may find it uncomfortable to talk to you. So, and your appearance. There's another factor, the Parents-Teacher Association. Parents, you have some parents that are, breathing down the teacher's neck. If you're teaching children in the classroom, and maybe one or two of them, the parents are maybe professor of English in one university or an English language teacher somewhere, and during meetings, they'll be trying to tell you how to teach to prove that they know what you're doing. You're not doing a good job. Or a child will come to class the next day and tell you, my dad said, this is wrong, teacher. So these are some of the things that can affect your ability to perform. And competing demands. Right now in Nigeria, things are tough. The salary is not enough to survive from payday to payday. So people are now using their time to look for what they can do to earn extra money. In my village school, the teachers there, they go to the beach to buy fish and sell. The children just play around in the secondary school there. They're being taken care of by the NYC members and some volunteer teachers because they need to survive, because the salary is not enough the salary cannot go far. So all these things I'm putting on the screen here are factors that can affect your ability to prove that you know your subject. Even if you know the subject, they can work against you and sort of limit you. Okay, and classroom ambience, looking at the social, emotional, and the physical aspects. Some of us, I wanted to put in the chat box. If in your primary school days, you went to a primary school that looks like A, all smart and fall around the table, or if you went to a primary school that looked like B, where learning was under the tree, or like me, you went to a primary school that looks like C, where you just have the blackboard and the teacher has the white chalk and then duster. We call it duster, eraser. So just put in the chat box. Ruth will tell me the greatest number that we have. What was your primary school like? Primary school education. 10 seconds. A, B, or C?
The C's are having it.
The C's are having it. Yeah. I'm one of the C's. So, so none of us was fortunate enough to go to any classroom that looks like A. So now I ask you again. Now you are teaching. Where are you teaching? Are you teaching in A or B or C? I'm teaching in A now. My primary school was in C, but I'm teaching in A. Five seconds. What have we got, Ruth?
Okay, so a greater percentage C, and we have just a few A's and B's. Very few.
The lucky few doing A's. I wouldn't say B is bad, because when we're talking about social, emotional, and physical development of the learners, you see that in B, the students are likely to be more interactive. They're likely to socialize more, get to know each other more, play together, and actually learn from each other more because they're sitting so closely to get so close. So if I don't know the answer, I can say, hey, what's the answer to that question? And the person will tell me. So So there are benefits to this. So it doesn't mean that because you're an A, everything is all good now. So let's move on. Teacher personality and appearance. I asked a ChatGPT, please, can you generate a professionally dressed Black teacher, female teacher for me? And this is what I got. Professionally dressed, Black teacher. I didn't specify English, just a Black teacher. And this is what I got. And I teach in a Muslim context. So looking at this definition of professionally dressed, this will not apply in my current context. This may be acceptable in so many places. So I want to tell about my French. When I was in secondary school, that's back in 1973, 74, and we had a French teacher in my class 1, a man, and the French that I know now is mon ami, bonjour, je ne comprends pas le français, je t'aime bien, or ouvrez le fenêtre, or ferme la porte. That's all the French I learned in my class 1 in secondary school. Class 2, class 3, we have a female teacher. I can't recall a single word of French that I learned because she was so beautiful. So we spent the entire time just staring and staring, and there was no French. Maybe came in here and went out there. So your appearance, in addition to your personality, can affect the learning process in your classroom. I can imagine this teacher here that ChatGPT generated, and then teaching young adults, they'll be spending more time looking at the cleavage instead of listening to what she's saying. So that's my story. We'll come back to that again. Now we're getting to the real deal now. So we've talked about qualifications and some factors that can inhibit your ability or limit your ability to prove your worth. And then you still want to show that, yes, there are other ways people can know that you're a good teacher by you saying, yes, I'm a good teacher. I can teach. I'm good. There are people that can praise themselves. There are others that wait for others to praise them. Your publications, your conference presentations, you may have a peer observation, or you may have lesson observation if it's part of your appraisal system and you score high on that. Or maybe your students' results are excellent, your students' evaluation fantastic, and your students are doing well in NECO or WAEC or whatever the terminal exam is. And all these things add to give you the confidence that you know what you're doing. It's a proof of that. It's a proof that you know your subjects. And then which aspect of the language learning do you really know as a teacher? Is it about listening, reading, writing, or speaking? The 4 skills. It's always very difficult to say, I'm so good at all 4, I'm excellent at all 4. There's one that you're going to be very strong at, maybe one that you're going to be very weak at. When we were in secondary school, we had a geography teacher. He came back from Canada, and he pronounced that word, Newfoundland. And the whole class laughed at him. Ha, 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 ha. They said, the man doesn't know what he's saying. Because we saw the spelling, we just said Newfoundland. He said Newfoundland. And then we actually started calling him Newfoundland as his nickname, Newfoundland, Newfoundland. So later on, as I grew older and I got more exposure, I came to know that the man was right. It's pronounced Newfoundland. Then we were just stupid there laughing Newfoundland. And because he knew his subject geography, but he wasn't a teacher, today, we as teachers will be able to tell the student, hey, listen very carefully. It is written Newfoundland, but it is pronounced Newfoundland. We can tell that because we are professional teachers. So if you're not a professional teacher, there are some things that you may not be able to share with your students, and you maybe just think your students are naughty and you just ignore them. So it's up to us to be able to let the students know, yes, the same way when we make mistakes, we tell the students, sorry, I don't know. There's some questions students will ask me, and I said, I don't know, tomorrow I'll come back and I'll tell you the answer. We should be honest enough to own up when we don't have the answer at that point in time, instead of trying to confuse the student with big grammar and, explanation that you just get them all confused. just to prove that you know your subject. No. Grammar. I don't like grammar. So I just say grammar believers, the apostles, the prophets of grammar. The Africa ELTA Forum, I think this week where you are, or last week, because our week starts on Sunday, we work on Sundays here. There was a heated argument on the use of grammar, the teaching of grammar, why we have to teach grammar. And all these years I've been going to Africa ELTA conference. I usually go with books from my program, apart from Cairo and Nigeria. I didn't go with books. I usually go with books from my program. And the way the teachers rush looking for grammar books, they want grammar books. It's like, why are you so crazy about grammar book? Is it because you don't know grammar? Or is it because you think by teaching grammar, that means you know how to teach? No. You may know all the rules and structures and everything else, but do your learners know the rules? And learners you teach at the different proficiency levels, do they know the rules of grammar? Japan teaches grammar. That's why there is no English. So if you just think you can just be teaching grammar, the structure, the form, and there's no context, there's no way for the children to use it in real life, then you're just wasting your time. In the chat box, I took this picture 19 years ago. I went to a restaurant in Japan and I saw this and I took a picture. This was 2005. Can you just tell me what you think of this? If you went somewhere where there is no English at all, because at that time I didn't know, apart from hello, I didn't know any Japanese word. So I was hungry and I needed to eat. I went to a restaurant. Can you just tell me what you can make out of this? 15 seconds. Ruth, what have we got?
Yeah, someone says it refers to the amount, the prices. Another says eating price and then take away price.
Thank you. To hear and to go. To go is take away. Take away is to go. To hear is eat in. You want to eat in, you're staying in the restaurant, you press that one and then if it's take away, it's a 540 yen. So, but for me, that doesn't understand, who didn't understand any word of Japanese, and the few English words here, they were just enough for me to know what I wanted. And that amount is like $3 now. You just put the money there, you press, and then you go in and you get served. So we're talking about the practical use of English. Instead of just drilling children with grammar they cannot use outside. You know, practical use of English. Check this out again. I got this from the Nigerian social media. There's a notice there. This store is not open today because it is closed. Well, of course, you see, just closed. This store is not open today. They say it's not open today because it is closed by the manager. Spelling mistakes and all that, and then the double meaning. Then the one in the middle, a male sales girl is wanted. Are we looking for a sales girl or we're looking for a man who is a woman? So in Nigeria, it's so common. I don't know about now, but then it's always sales girls wanted, sales girls wanted, sales girls wanted. So there wasn't any time you see sales boy or salesman wanted. It was always sales girls in a restaurant or in a hotel or sales girl. So this person probably thought sales girl is just the person. Now he wants to specify the gender. We want a man. A male sales girl is wanted. Yeah, but talking about this very thing now, in today's world, this might make grammatical sense with people talking about transgender and all that. So it might make grammatical sense. Then the one on the right, dogs children for sale, boys and girls very cheap. We know what that means. I had to blot the phone number. Dogs children, the person is just trying to say puppies, female and male puppies for sale. That's all. But see, We're talking about functional use of English. As long as you can convey meaning, people can understand what you're talking about, you're good to go. So for the teacher, start with the context, not rules, using stories or articles or real life situations. Let them understand why you are teaching that particular form by using simple language. And then you can illustrate with maybe timelines or color codes. And then in terms of difficulty, the difficulty gradient, if you're talking about filling the gap or multiple choice sentences, they can just start that and gradually they're building up. Forget memorization. It doesn't work. Memorization, because when you memorize something, once you miss a short link, everything goes. The same way when you're giving a presentation, you memorize everything you want to say. The moment you forget one word, you forget everything else. Let them try to use this. And then when you are giving feedback, just give feedback on the grammar point you are teaching. If you are teaching zero conditionals and the student writes an essay, correct only the mistakes on zero conditional. Forget past perfect or present tense or modals and all that. Just focus on correcting the mistake on the grammar point you're emphasizing. And then self-correction also comes when you create opportunities for students to interact using the language in the classroom, because some will now learn from the more proficient mates. Different styles using visuals like videos or maps or music or songs or maybe role play, and now technology, which is what everybody's talking now. Your teaching cannot be complete without technology. So let's take a short break, okay? Commercial break, we'll be back. So I'll give you a few seconds to just read what you see on the screen and I'll come back.
What do you do my Bible? So the one joke. Big bless the word of Father. Cornish. What?
Okay. Okay, I'm allowed to do this because whenever we give a presentation, we are allowed to express our ambition, share our vision and our manifesto. So I was playing Iroy. I'm a Rasta, I don't do religion. I'm a Rasta man, so I play reggae all the time. That song is back to 1978 or so. It's a black man time. TESOL has never had a black president in its 60-year history. And I'm contesting to be the next president-elect of TESOL International Association. So you've seen my strength on the left and my manifesto on the right. And my good friend Ken, who is always giving me some good jibes, say, Pikin, where in Mama Day kitchen, no, they sleep hungry. That's the Nigerian Pidgin English proverb, which means if your mother is in the kitchen, you will never go to bed with an empty stomach. So this is my promise to you in Africa. If I do win the presidency, Africa will feel the impact of TESOL. So if there are no other questions, we can talk about this after the presentation. So that was just a short commercial break. Moving on, back to business now. Hello, can you hear me? Ruth, am I clear?
Very well, very well. Go ahead.
Thank you. So we've finished with grammar. We've forgotten grammar. Now let's check out phonetics and phonology. In Nigeria, we say phone, they blow phone. when you speak too much British English, say phone, phone, you know the sounds, you know how they function in communication. What about your students? Have you taught them the placement of the different organs, the lip, the teeth, the tongue, the hard palate, the soft palate, the glottis, how to pronounce words? They need to know. Have you shown them the IPA chart, breaking into consonants and vowels? Have you shown them the rules about assimilation and insertion deletion? Stresses and syllables? Look at the word born vita at the bottom, born vita. It's a beverage in Nigeria. I don't know, I'm sure you still have it, born vita. My mother was a primary school teacher. She always called it Borvita, Borvita. So when I was 15, 16 years old, I sat down with her and said, Ma, you're a teacher. Why do you keep calling this thing Borvita? There's an N there. Eh? What do you do with the N? It's born vita. She said, my son, the day you were born until now, I've used this thing to feed and nourish you. If you think I'm not pronouncing it correctly, stop drinking it. Go and buy your own and drink. And from then on, we didn't have that conversation again. And she continued calling it Borvita until she died 21 years ago. So this is an example of fossilization. I'm also from the part of Nigeria where K is very tough. We say Bariad, Bariad, Bariad. The K doesn't come out. Calabar people, Akwa Ibom, backyard. You don't hear the K, Bariad, Bariad. Then there's some tribes too, sardines, they say sandine, that to diagnose, they say diagnose, like that. So these are issues you can deal with in the classroom when they come up so that your students don't fossilize before it's too late. And there's some apps you can use, you know, the software you can use, and then you engage in role play where students can also teach each other phonetics and phonology. And then vocabulary, the same thing. Sorry, I want to go back. I want to go back. Where's my back? Back. Okay, sorry. There's something I missed there. Here. Sorry, I'm back. Yeah, just listen to this guy. He was trying to make a speech, maybe a trade union leader, trying to use English, but there you go.
No volume, please.
There you go.
We could not hear anything.
You couldn't hear?
Yeah, actually, in the sharing, you should allow the audio sharing in the sharing option so that we can hear.
Without equivocation, sorry, please. Declare that. Today, I want to declare without equivocation, sorry, please. Declare that.
Were you able to hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we heard it.
Okay. Yeah, I've mentioned this one. So we talked about vocabulary, teaching learners, teaching them strategies to learn vocabulary. And then the methodologies, we are aware of this. We learned all this in our MA or BA, TESOL, or English language or linguistics, applied linguistics classes. So how do you incorporate this into your teaching? Which of these methods will work with a particular topic or point of vocabulary or grammar that you're trying to do that will help the students to learn? So there are so many methods. I just listed out these 5 here. And then the theories as well, language acquisition theories. You know, you can link your teaching to any of these. Is it interaction or output or sociocultural or cognitive input, affective? So when you keep yourself up to date with goings on, and when you are teaching, how do you link it to any of these? And how can the theories help to improve your teaching? All these things come together to make you a good teacher and a sure proof that you know what you're doing. And you teach reading, how to skim, scan, predict, and infer, paragraph structuring, coherence and cohesion, text types. See, all these are things you do in the classroom to prove that you know your subjects. Your assessment techniques, formative, summative, which of the skills are you evaluating? The 4 skills, and you're providing constructive feedback so learners can know what you're doing. And then cultural and pragmatic competence. This is also very important in language learning because when we learn a language, we go to a different context where we want to use it. And then we make mistakes. I was in a board meeting and there's a lady called Rita Buckner, TESOL staff, and they just kept saying, reader, 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 reader. And I thought, what's wrong with my ears? So at break time, I asked them, the ED, what's that lady's name? Is she not Rita? He said, yeah. I said, but why is everybody calling her reader? He said, in America, when there's a vowel before and after T is pronounced D. So it's called reader. I said, nice. I came back to Qatar. I visited my American friend. He said, Okon, what would you like? I said, water, water. Say what? I said, water. I want water, please. I said, you mean water, as in tap water? You know water? I said, water, yeah. So they told me it was D there. I came back and now it's R, water, water. She just said, stop making an ass of yourself. Stick to your Nigerian English. I said, thank you very much. I have colleagues here who said they're going to vote for me during the election because in their country, V is W, W is V. I said, thank you very much. Every word counts. Thank you. Love, rough, brain. Japanese, they don't have the R and the L sound. So these are things that your learners should be aware of when they're talking. Idiomatic expressions. Recently, I goofed. I was in a Zoom meeting and I told the lady, oh, next year I'll see you in flesh. Another person cut in, Okon, see you in the flesh. I said, sorry, see you in the flesh, because see you in flesh could mean seeing the flesh. So some of these idiomatic expressions, if you're not really comfortable with them, don't use them. And we teach our students. And then politeness strategies. You know, sometimes using compliments instead of criticism. When I was new, I went to England and the building had these swing doors, this double door that swings across and forward and backward. We don't have those kind of buildings in my village or those doors. So I just walked past the door and I left it and the thing swung back. There was a lady behind me. It almost hit her. She said, thank you. And I thought, thank you? You say welcome. When they say thank you, you say welcome. And I said, I can't say welcome because I just done something stupid. You know, and I can't say I'm sorry because she said thank you. You don't say I'm sorry when somebody says thank you. So from that day on, whenever I'm opening a door, I look over my shoulder to be sure nobody's coming. And then, yeah. So that kind of using compliment instead of criticism. I know if that was in Nigeria, somebody would say, Oga Okon, you won't kill me. Can't you see me? But that's just the way it is. So we teach our learners these things as well. And then the cultural nuances, differences in behavior, thinking and feelings. And I once, Rashida, are you there? Thank you. Rashida gave me chin-chin in March when we met at Tampa. I traveled to America once and I went back to Japan with chin-chin. Usually the teachers when I was teaching in the secondary school then, I went to by table and said, hey, here's chin-chin from Nigeria, Nigerian snack, please enjoy. Korewa chin-chin there's Nigeria, not snack, tabete kodasai, table by table. Nobody said thank you. Everybody just sat stone-faced, which was very strange because birthdays or Valentine's Day, White Day, people put things around the table and they say, thank you, arigato, thank you, thank you. So I went around the whole staff room. Nobody said thank you. I'm getting home, I asked my wife, what's wrong with your people? I gave them chin-chin and nobody said thank you. She said, chin-chin means something else in Japanese. I said, what? He said, it's the male organ. I said, you didn't tell me. You were sitting in the house eating chin-chin, telling me it's delicious, or she. You didn't tell me the meaning in Japanese. If you told me, at least I would have maybe put it upside down and then I'll just let them enjoy the snack. And you could have told me during the day, maybe because of the children, or maybe at bedtime, then I would know. And I was busy going table by table. This is changing from Nigeria. This is changing from Nigeria. Enjoy. Changing from Nigeria. Enjoy. Cultural nuances. Pet wife. I had a class with my Japanese students. We're discussing pets, using pets to promote communication. Teacher, do you like pets? I said, my wife is my pet. The girls took offense. The next day, no girl greeted me in class. And I tried to find out what's wrong. Why are you guys looking so stone-faced? And because you called your wife animal. You called your wife animal. I had to explain. I said, what do you do with your pets? Cuddle, kiss. I said, that's what I do with my wife. That's why I call her. That's why I said she's my pet. I did the same thing in my class here in Qatar. We're discussing pets, and then, teacher, do you have any pet? I said, my wife is my pet. Mashallah. And I pretended not to get it. So why do you say that? Yeah, your wife is very lucky. I said, why? Because you're romantic. You see cultural context? The same thing in Japan, in an Asian context, they thought I'm calling my wife an animal. And then I said the same thing to Arab learners. They say, oh, wow, they understood what I mean by that kind of, so we have to be careful the way we are talking so that depending on the cultural context. Dog in a smoke room. I was in a smoke room in the teacher's room when I was teaching in the special needs school, very stressful environment where we always struggle. And we're talking about animals. I have a poodle, I have beagle, I have a bulldog, I have this. And they looked at me, Okon, you like dogs? I said, yeah. What do you think? I said, very delicious. And everybody was like, I said, yeah, it's very delicious. You wanted my opinion? I'm an honest man, I told you. Where I come from in Nigeria, we eat dogs. You know, Calabar people, we eat dog. And dog is very delicious. So they took offense because they saw me as somebody who eats dog. But that's our culture. And in my village, we cannot have a zoo because the next day you wake up and there'll be no animal left in the zoo. That's just what it is. So these are kind of things when you're in the class teaching your students, you raise their awareness and they know in case when they go outside, they know what they're doing. So here we're talking about strong classroom management skills, creating positive learning environment, motivating students, addressing diverse needs of your learners, giving them an engaging lesson, catering to their different learning styles and abilities. That's where you are doing your job as a teacher. And then by the time you achieve your student learning outcomes, it actually proves you know your subjects. We can't talk about anything these days without talking about technology. Use them in the classroom to support your teaching. Artificial intelligence, yes. We can't do without them now. It's all part of the way it is. Apart from that classroom we saw in the initial stage, the B classroom under the tree, we can't do anything there. It works, but try your little best to do what it can do. And artificial intelligence we cannot have a conversation these days without talking AI. You can use it to create songs, plays, sample text, role play assignments, even suggest task materials and task outlines, create your rubric for evaluation, model examples. You can simplify text, create grocery, anything you can do with AI, you know that. Try to use them. And for the teachers, these are some of the tools you can use. Yep. And then for the learners, they can use this. And
we're rounding off.
Yep. Last word. Ruth, good timing. Last word. So when you demonstrate competence by mastery of all the things I've discussed on all the different slides, you'll be able to give high quality instructions to your students. And then you get the respect from your students. You don't demand respect, you earn it. You don't demand, you earn the respect, and you have happy learners because nobody ever forgets a good teacher. Not like my beautiful French teacher that I didn't learn any French. Thank you very much, Ruth, and we can talk. The floor is open now.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Okon. I'm trying to get my own reaction button to give you a resounding clap. I think that everyone on this meeting should be able to do that. I can't see the claps dropping here already. Can we do that? Okay, so I see the messages coming in saying thank you to you. Okay.
Thank you too.
While
you're welcome.
you're dropping your expressions of gratitude, I also like you to drop your questions or any things that you would want Dr. Okon to.
I think you're frozen, Ruth. What Ruth is saying is that you can ask your questions.
This presentation is deep. I'm sure you've done justice to this, but I'm hoping that we can use more questions to tease this out. So while I'm waiting for
You're breaking up, Ruth. You may want to turn off your video and just use audio. I'm going to check the chat box to see what questions you may have. Okay.
Yeah, we just have a lot of accolades. Everyone is just so grateful to you. So I see there's a question from Linda. And the question is, how can we manage cultural nuances, sir? It's confusing and can get, I think what she's trying to say, and can I get more? It's confusing because it can get one into trouble. How can you manage cultural nuances? I think that's a very important question.
I think that was the last slide I was talking about. Yeah, so if you're going to a different linguistic context, a different cultural context, you need to try to understand what is acceptable behavior or utterances in that context by maybe if you have a host family or close friends, before you can now start going out to express yourself, to show off that you know the language or you know the culture. Try to understand what is acceptable. Just like the mistake I made, because if my wife had told me the meaning of chin-chin at home, I would have been more careful in how I presented my gift to my colleagues in school. But if she told me, I wouldn't have even given them. I would have just decided I wasn't going to give them. So sometimes there's this resistance to your own culture. You want to show your culture. Like my resistance when they were asking me about my opinion of dogs, and I said they're delicious. I wanted to prove to them that we eat dogs where we come from, because wherever I go, I try to show that I'm a true-born Nigerian. I'm a full-blooded Nigerian. Yeah. So I want to also teach them their culture, our culture. So in managing these, if you're a teacher, you are teaching your learners, you can bring examples from different cultures so that they will be able to have a good understanding. In case in the future they happen to find themselves outside their comfort zone, then they can manage. Nigeria in particular, we know if you are going to a different linguistic context, for maybe young people, they learn the bad language first before the real language, you know, because like in my language, vegetable is called mfang. But when you put the stress in the wrong place, it means something else, very offensive. So this is the sort of thing you can bring to your learners' awareness, or just let them know this is what's. I don't know if I've done that. Somebody can contribute, please. Anybody can unmute and contribute to that.
Questions. Yeah, I see some questions here in the chat box. Maybe you want to speak to that, Dr. Okon.
Yeah, so looking at the
Yeah, so someone is asking about the such complexities. Do they not, or the different nuances that we have as per different cultures, do they not add to the complexities of language learning?
Of course, they do. They do, absolutely. Which is why maybe sometimes I do ask myself, is English language actually a blessing or a curse to us Africans? I don't know. Because sometimes I just feel English is a curse, or English language is a curse. Other times, maybe it might be a blessing. So it depends on how you look at it, but it adds to the complexity, and which is why we teach intercultural communication in class. I mean, with like a bachelor's or master's, we do intercultural communication. So if there's a way to water this down at the secondary school level and introduce it into maybe the textbook, not the syllabus, the textbook or curriculum, so that you can, children or learners at that level are, sorry, equally aware of intercultural communication. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that response.
Yes,
Another question states,
yeah.
are you there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Phonetics and phonology is the most maybe crucial aspect teachers ignore to teach due to mother tongue influence. How do you manage? Do you get the gist of that question? Yeah.
The question and the answer is the same thing. Yeah. The question and the answer is in that question. So I'm one of the people that will be thinking yes, due to mother tongue influence. So if I'm given a choice, Okon, will you teach grammar, phonology? Phonology will be my last, because I may not be able to pronounce certain words the way it's pronounced in the real context, in the real sense of the word. So so the interference, the mother tongue interference, is also a limiting factor, unless now that we are having world Englishes, more people in the world are speaking English more than those whose first language is English. So I think in the near future or distant future, we'll begin to teach them how to speak English. Those whose first language is English now. Because once we start using our English more often, it becomes mainstream. So this issue of phonology and phonetics will become something that is contextualized. So you come to Nigeria, this is Nigerian English, this is Cameroon English, this is Tanzanian English. So we may have to just understand each other by just saying, this is how we speak it. So it's the insistence of pure native-like pronunciation is one of the reasons we don't make progress with phonology or phonetics teaching. Yeah.
Okay. And someone has a good comment here. Well, I'll leave that to you to judge. She says, I think teachers should avoid additional grammar teaching that encourage. What do you have to say in response to that?
That teachers should avoid additional grammar teaching. I'm not in support of grammar teaching. Practitioner or
traditional
practice? What? I don't understand. So practice grammar teaching?
No, traditional grammar. Traditional grammar.
Traditional. Oh yeah, the traditional grammar translation approach. Yeah, I abhor that completely. I don't even subscribe to that at all. I don't even subscribe to the way grammar is being taught. I just want natural use of language, making meaning first, contextualizing language, and people can communicate. That's the primary essence of language, to communicate. Yeah. I saw a question about how do we avoid code switching and mixing during lessons? We shouldn't be avoiding code switching and mixing. This is translanguaging. It's actually helping in the learning process. Because in Qatar here, when my students are trying to say something in English, and then they're stuck, they just turn around, hey, what's that word in English? They get it from their classmates and they continue. Then the communication is not broken down. It flows. So when you're talking about code switching, I will subscribe to code switching where necessary, as long as it helps to keep the conversation going. not to be completely avoided, no.
Okay. Some other person wants to know this issue of grammar. The way you've spoken about it, it feels like, should we exclude grammar? External exams in Nigeria demand students knowing grammar. What do you think the approach should be?
No. I'm not saying we should exclude grammar. No. But the way we teach grammar, we can just teach it in a way that, because if people are practicing the use of language, you will learn from that practice. You know how the correct form is being used by just listening. When you have role play in the classroom, there are some students that are more proficient, and then the ones that are less proficient can learn from them. Even us teachers, as we are sitting here, it doesn't mean that we know all the grammar in the world. No, we don't. We still learn from people too. Like I told you, I messed up with the idiomatic expression. I said, I'll see you in flesh. Whereas I should see you in the flesh. So when you're corrected like that, you learn. So when you try to use a language and then people correct you, or you hear somebody using it in the correct form, you learn from that person. So I'm not saying we shouldn't teach grammar, but the way we teach grammar, like a translation, putting it on table, this, you change it into your L1, and then no, that's the one I don't subscribe to.
Okay.
Yep.
Now on dressing, okay. So you said you had some issues with your French teacher because she was so beautifully dressed and all. So
I saw the comment. Someone said it's my fault. Someone said it's my fault. It's
I was
true.
also going to ask because this in some schools there are certain dress codes that have to be adhered to. So what then happens? Is it that learning can't take place because the teacher is all touched up, looking so good? What then has to happen?
Well, it's just the growth process. Young adults, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, adolescents with the hormones coursing through their blood, and then they just stand there or they sit there looking at this gorgeously dressed lady, and they watch movies, they see things. So that actually affects concentration. I agree with the person that said it was my fault. Yes, it was my fault. I should have been paying attention to French, not looking at the teacher. But then the appearance was very distracting. So is it my fault that she came to class that image I showed, that AI generated image, I showed showing cleavage? Is it my fault that she came to class wearing something with cleavage? Why won't I look? You dress like that when you're going for dinner, you're going to a party to attract attention. You don't dress like that to the classroom to attract attention, unless maybe there are other opposite gender teachers you want to impress, but not the students. So it was my fault, yeah, which is why I can't speak French. But one day I'll still learn French to make up for my stupid acts. Then the other one is over formal, dressing formally. When it is too much, that again creates a barrier between you and the learners. It creates a gap, it creates a distance between you and the learners because they will not feel very comfortable coming close to you. So smart casual, and it's just enough to make them feel comfortable with the teacher. Ruth, have we lost you? And there's a question on promoting diversity and multiculturalism in the classroom. This one, if you're teaching in a multicultural context where you have learners from different cultural backgrounds, at least it's easier to pair them in groups. You can put, like for example, in Nigeria, you can have a Yoruba child with an Igbo child, with a Hausa child working in the group, and they kind of understand how things are interpreted in their cultural context, and then they learn from each other. But if you are teaching in a monocultural context where everybody's from the same culture, that again is a tough one. So you can only draw on examples from outside to show them, maybe like showing them videos in class about diversity and inclusion or multiculturalism, or using lesson materials that address diversity and multiculturalism. But if you're actually having multicultural set in the classroom, use the learners there to demonstrate that.
Right, Dr. Okon. for all the beautiful responses. I think it's almost time. Abel, what do you suggest? Over to you.
Okay. Well, I'm just so super happy today that we had this brilliant session. From the chart, you can see that the session was really, really deep. And even from the quality of questions we are getting, I'm sure all of us are excited that, this kind of topic has been brought to us in ELTA. Thank you very much, Dr. Ruth, for moderating today's session. It was really brilliant. Thank you very much to everyone who has, listened with rapt attention to our presenter. And of course, we can't say it enough. Thank you so much, Dr. Okon, and of course, our future TESOL president, for giving us this really exciting presentation. And I'm sure many who missed it would really want to listen to the recorded version. And the recorded version soon will be uploaded on our YouTube channel for those who would want to listen again. Thank you so much for your time. And we hope that you would have a blessed week ahead. Teacher, please don't teach our students nonsense. Know your subject and handle it very well. I like how you brought in all the other nuances to teaching the subject. It's not just the core subject itself. There are so many other things attached to it that will make your learner, understand exactly why you should teach properly. Sally, thank you for your question. If you're a member of TESOL, you would have got an email already on how to vote. So it's not open to everyone. It's open only to people who are members of TESOL. And you would have got an email prompting you to cast your vote. So this is from me. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good night rest. And thank you very much again, Dr. Okon, for sharing.